Hello, and welcome to Women in Business, where we interview entrepreneurs and senior managers and show you the strengths, successes, obstacles, and roadblocks women experience in business. Since I believe every person in business needs to be visible, I'd like to invite you to watch www.sob6, that's the number 6, tips.com, which will give you some valuable information should you get the call to be on radio or TV, which I think is extremely important. If you'd like to contact me personally, drop me a line at Gayle Carson, that's Gayle, Gayle Carson 13 at gmail.com, or go to my website, www.spunkyoldbroad.com, and sign up for my weekly newsletter.
My guest today is April Yvette, and April is really an interesting personality. She's a motivational speaker, she's a sales and marketing strategist, and an author. And the best thing is she went from being a struggling single mom to generating $9 million in real estate sales and winning Salesperson of the Year at a new home builder to inventing a product called THINgloss and appearing on the TV show Shark Tank, which is amazing because you have no idea what someone has to go through to get on Shark Tank. Her powerful message on faith, determination, resilience, and learning from failure inspires audiences to believe they can overcome any obstacle and win. She also lets them know it's okay to embrace meaningful fame and success so they can be a force for good. And so today she helps purpose-driven coaches, consultants, speakers, and professional athletes share their compelling story with the world, clarifying their message and making a bigger impact and accelerating their business sales authentically. Welcome to the show, April.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on, Dr. Gayle. So amazing to be here with you and anyone tuning in and listening in today.
Well, I have to tell you, I need to hear about this struggling mom to generating $9 million in real estate sales. What happened there? There had to be some kind of transition.
Yes. Oh man, that was quite an experience. Well, I ended up as a single mom very early in life. Had children way too early, but you learn, right? So it was like, it was like that a moment. I think all of us, it leads up to a moment of we just make a decision. If we've been going through something and it's not working for us, or we've been struggling with something, at some point we get to the end of our rope and it's a choice point. You can either stay on the same path and keep having the same problem over and over again, or you can do something to change it. There's really no other options, right? And in my case,
so in other words, you can't wait for that rescue to come to you.
No.
You've got to make it happen.
Oh, yes. We got to rescue ourselves. Right. That's what I did. It was a moment of clarity where I was struggling I love the work I was doing, worked my way up in some retail management, but I just wasn't making enough income to support me and my two kids and no child support. So I said, never again. I am going to take 100% responsibility for my life and for my success. And then that's when I started studying successful people. And the real catalyst was when I bought, I don't know how I stumbled across this. I bought my first self-help book, and the book was called Live Your Dreams by Les Brown. I'd never read a book cover to cover before until that moment, but something about the author sharing his personal story of overcoming adversity and great odds and a poverty situation and rising up to extraordinary success, his story gave me hope. And I remember thinking, if he can do it, maybe I can do it too. And it was like
it's interesting. Yeah, I know Les personally because he's from Miami, where I'm from. And so we've had the opportunity to meet one another. And I've, of course, listened to him and read his materials and so forth. And it's true. Everything he said in that book is true. And so I'm just thrilled to know that it had that kind of an effect on you. But you also left a corporate job, it was a successful job to start your own business, and you launched your product called THINgloss, which I'm assuming is what you prepared for Shark Tank. So tell us a little bit about that journey, because that had to be a complete experience in itself.
Yeah. Well, to make a long story short, I switched careers and went into selling real estate and started to apply what I was learning, was honing my sales and marketing skills. And it worked. I went from earning $9 an hour, struggling to even keep food on the table at times, to generating $9 million in sales in 1 year and winning Salesperson of the Year, working at a new home builder. But from there, I had this idea in the back of my mind. At that corporate home builder job, I had been promoted to marketing, because I had done so well and I was doing well. I had a six-figure income. Something in me was pulling me forward for something more. And I had an idea for a lip gloss that curbs appetite. It was an idea I had just popped in my head years earlier, and I decided to overcome my fear and just go for it and try it. So I turned in my notice at this corporate marketing job at a new home builder to start my own business and to launch my product, THINgloss. And incredible things started happening as soon as I got it launched. Um, I was on my product won Best Innovation of the Year in a competition for inventors, second place. I was in the local newspaper 4 times. I was on the TV show Shark Tank, NBC Daytime, the Los Angeles Times newspaper. Like, it's this like snowball effect. The product was sold in retail stores across the U.S. and I shipped all over the world, like 5 other countries and across the U.S. And so I was building some momentum with the product. And then I reached a little bit of a plateau. And then, boy, did I learn some lessons after that.
I was just going to ask you. So, what was the biggest lesson you learned from it, from this lip gloss business?
Well, I discovered that when we have goals and I hit a ceiling. I hit a ceiling on my income, and I felt like I was at this sticking point. I don't know else to describe it, but I reached a certain level of success, but it was like I couldn't go beyond that. And I'm like, why does this keep happening? Here's why. The big lesson I learned is when we are striving and doing what we know to do, and we've hit some kind of income ceiling in our business or in our life or any kind of ceiling for that matter, if you want to break through that and go beyond it, you have to solve two problems. That's really what's going on. The first problem is an external problem. For me, in the lip gloss business, I did not have an effective marketing strategy that was consistently generating quality leads for my business. The marketing activities I was doing was kind of hit or miss, and it was creative. I was doing it on this shoestring budget, and that's part of why I just kept bumping up against this ceiling to keep it from growing to the next level. I also needed money for clinical trials, right? With my product. So I knew that. But here's the other piece that's important. There is also an internal problem that is really the root cause of the external problem. So the internal problem for me happened way back early in my life. It was a fear of not being good enough. It was a fear of rejection. And I had a wound pattern, and I kept being a perfectionist. So I was doing marketing activities in my day in, day out, but I was spending way too much time on trying to get things perfect, to get it dialed in just right before I got it out there, before I got myself out there in a bigger way, before I wrote that marketing letter, before I launched that next campaign, right? I was perfecting it because it was really a deep fear, underlying fear of being rejected. It's because I felt worthless. And so I kept being,
But
it was
April,
subconscious at the time.
I'm going to stop you there because, here you feel unworthy and you feel this is something that's within you, but you went from nothing to $9 million in sales, to a six-figure income, to being promoted at your corporate job, to being a success on Shark Tank. So why was this feeling persisting in you? There are a lot of listeners who are saying, what does she have to be fearful about?
Right.
she certainly moved ahead whether she was fearful or not. So how could something like that stop you?
It was the pattern that was the behavior that I kept doing over and over again was that I would do marketing activities and do sales activities that would generate new clients, new customers, and income for my business. And then it's like I would hide out. I would retreat and hide out. And I would stop doing the income producing activities. And then I would scramble to start doing the income producing activities again. And then I would retreat. And it was like a pattern of a feast or famine income cycle. And it was coming from that fear of not being good enough, that fear of rejection. Again, it was subconscious, but that seemed to be the theme literally across my whole career. If I really looked
That's
at it
amazing.
laser.
That's
Yes.
just amazing. That I mean, I understand now. If you stop doing the marketing and income producing activities that you need to do, of course, nothing's going to happen. But
Right.
so what are you doing now? What is it that you do now to satisfy your drive and desire and also provide you the income that you want?
Yeah, thanks for asking. Number one, first and foremost, I had to heal the problems that showed up in my business at the root cause. So I had to get an effective marketing strategy that worked for generating quality leads, and then I had to do it consistently and get clients, attract my clients, but also have conversations with them so that it was a steady flow instead of this feast or famine cycle. And the second thing I had to do was I had to heal this at the root cause. And you do that through reframing in your mind the meaning of why certain situations happen to you early in childhood and even in our adult life. And when I finally unhooked from those fears and limiting beliefs, that's when I was set free from it. And now, as a result of it, by the way, in 2012, I was sold out of inventory. So I kept selling all the way until I was completely sold out of inventory in my lip gloss business. I was at a crossroads. I prayed about it and made a decision that my real passion and purpose wasn't necessarily doing the activities of owning a full blown cosmetic company. And that's when I started my sales and marketing consulting business and doing more speaking. That's my real passion, that creativity of that and helping others. I've been doing that since 2012, and I know for sure that that is. My work feels like my calling because I've been there, right? I've been through all of it and I made it to the other side. I know what it's like. So,
Exactly. Yeah.
yes, yeah, like many of us have.
So why do you think why do entrepreneurs fail? In other words, what are the reasons they fail and they don't get to where they want to go sales wise? And what will help them succeed?
That's a good question. Um, taken from my own experience, the reason they fail is if they don't have a clear marketing message that their ideal clients will respond to. That's key. Sometimes we're too broad or too vague. And because of that, people hear what you do, but they go, that's interesting. I'll keep you in mind. But they're not moving forward to book a call with you or to move forward to buy the product or service. You've got to be specific about the problem that they have and how you solve it. And then you got to have an effective marketing system that works for lead generation. You've got to also unhook from any fears or limiting beliefs, identify what they are, anything that may be holding you back or getting in your way from taking action, inspired action consistently. And for me, in my own personal experience, putting God first in my personal life and in my business, that's when things really began to take off. When I started reaching out to a higher power and cultivating trust, deepening, getting to a place of deep surrender, of allowing and being open to receive instead of pushing and forcing and making. That was the biggest shift that happened for me. That just opened up the floodgates, and business was a lot easier.
That's interesting because I have In fact, I get all these little messages in my emails all the time. And one of the things that came across in one of those sayings was to stop pushing, that when you push, you are actually placing more resistance on it.
Mm-hmm.
And what you want to happen, just the opposite will happen. And that if you are just open and you have this open heart and you sit back and you do the things you need to do, but you do them in a manner that is more open, that things will happen for you. So you shared in a blog post that there are signs to know if a person is meant to be famous and that they're meant to have an important calling. I'm not sure I've ever heard about those signs. So why don't you tell us what they are? What are the signs that you're meant to be this famous person?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that I've discovered on my journey is like I believe that if you have been through, well, let me just share the stages with you. I call it the messenger's journey. So there are a few stages. I'll quickly go through them. But if you've experienced two or more of the following stages, it is highly likely that you have a very important calling for your life. And it's time for you to be highly visible, to go all in. And you can say yes to your calling and just stay on the same path and fulfill your calling, or you can say no and just stay on the same path. But I encourage you to say yes to it and go all in. Here are the stages to know if you are meant to have meaningful fame and you absolutely have an important calling for your life. Number one, you've been through a painful problem. It was a chronic, painful problem that you kept bumping up against over and over again until finally you reached the end of your rope and you said, enough is enough. And I'm going to change this, like I did. It could be in your personal life, it could be in your relationships, it could be in your business. Everyone's different. You had a painful problem and you reached the end of your rope and you made a decision. I'm going to change it. I'm going to figure this out. Number two, you went on a journey searching for answers. You did all kind of things. Maybe you read books or took an online course or took a workshop or went to a conference, but you were searching for answers. Maybe you're watching a lot of those free webinars that you see on Facebook, but you were searching and the problem persisted. Stage three is you hit rock bottom. You tried a lot of things and it didn't solve your problem. And it got so bad that you hit rock bottom, meaning you had some kind of a big loss. Maybe it could be caused a bankruptcy. Maybe your business failed. Maybe ended in divorce. Maybe you had a painful crisis, or maybe just an emotional breakdown. And at that moment, at your lowest point, the fourth stage is you reached out to a higher power. You surrendered to God, source, higher power, whatever you call that force greater than yourself, and you literally asked for help from your higher power, from God. You surrendered your life or surrendered the problem. Clearly, I can't do this, God. I'm asking you for help. You had this moment. Stage five, you have a transformation. You literally have some kind of an awakening where you're no longer this old person you used to be. Because you had the rock bottom moment, it changed you. You learned life-changing lessons from it, and it changed you fundamentally, how you shift, how you live your life, and what you believe. And because of that, you're no longer this old person you used to be, but you're not quite this new person that's emerging. You're being transformed. It's like when they describe the butterfly in the cocoon. The next stage is you're searching for the answers. You're still on this search. You start the search again. And you're looking for hope. Now you've surrendered to a higher power. This time you're doing it from a place of more surrender to a higher power to help you rather than you just trying to do it on your own. And you again reach the end of your rope. And then finally, the next stage is you meet a mentor. A mentor shows up in your life. You hesitate because you're thinking, will this work again? It didn't work last time. I hired another mentor, another coach, or I read that book before, or is this going to work? But something in you tells you to do it, and you do it. You say yes. And then that is when you reach the next stage. You actually have the breakthrough. Like you get beyond that painful challenge you had. You finally crack the code. You finally solve that problem. You make it to the other side. You're wiser. You learn bigger lessons. And guess what happens after that? The next stage is you receive the calling. It feels like a strong inner nudge. It's like it's tapping you on the shoulder. It's pulling you forward, like you feel compelled to help others solve the problem that you went through and you made it to the other side. Or you've got special knowledge and lessons, this wisdom or a story or message that you feel like you absolutely must share with more people. And oftentimes the next stage is hiding out or holding back. It's like you're on the fence. You know you're being called to get out and help more people because you've lived it. You've been through it. And you got a message to share. You know you can help people because you've been there. But you're hiding out or holding back. And at some point, the final stage is you get to a point where it won't leave you alone. The calling is pulling you to where you finally are at a choice point to say yes to your calling and go all in, to follow your heart. And you either start a business, coaching, a consulting, a speaking, or writing books. There's many different ways you can express your calling. It could be even at a corporate job where you're expressing your calling. And you
so
say
let me
yes,
ask you something, April.
Mm-hmm.
How long does all of this take?
Oh, well, going through that messenger's journey, like it's in stages. It can happen in as little as 3 months. It could happen as long as a few years. Everybody's different. It depends on your path. For me, it was several years that I was on this journey.
Wow.
I said yes to my calling.
Yeah. We're kind of in the final phase of our show, so I need to ask you. I know you've got a free gift for everybody, so tell us about that. Tell us where people can get a hold of you. Tell us, the best way to reach you and so forth.
Thank you. Yeah, the best way to reach me is you can reach out to me on my website at www.aprilyvette.com, APRILYVETTE.com. And I have a great gift for you. I'd love to share this with you. Matter of fact, I've never done this before up until just like a couple of days ago. I decided to do this. I'm giving away a free 45-minute coaching session with me. This is for purpose-driven coaches, consultants, speakers, and entrepreneurs. If you need some help with anything around the area of marketing, sales, attracting clients, mindset, overcoming limiting beliefs or fears, anything to do with marketing, sales, and mindset in a business capacity, fulfilling your calling, being more visible, any of that, being fully booked with clients, I can help you with that. Clarifying your message or what business to start. It's completely free. This is an actual coaching session with me. You will leave with answers and a specific strategy that whether you work with me or not, either way, you will leave with the next steps and a plan for how to move forward. So you'll have answers based on just booking this time with me, and I can't wait to help you.
That sounds wonderful. So if you want to find out more about April, go to her website and exactly what she said, AprilYvette.com, and you can certainly book the session with her there, but you'll also be able to see what else she has to offer and her many diversities and offerings. So that's really, I think, very generous, April, and I want to thank you for that. Another thing I think that, and we really only have a couple minutes, so this has to be a really short answer.
Sure.
What did being on Shark Tank teach you?
It helped me to just recognize that I had fear. I had fear of even being on the show because it feels like you're in front of a firing squad in front of those investors if you've seen the show.
Well, we're right. It's true.
Right. just face your fear and do it anyway. If I had to sum it up, that's it.
And what was the
Yeah.
biggest piece of feedback they gave you?
The biggest piece of feedback is the part of the reason why they did not want to invest in my company is because I needed clinical trials for the product claims. I knew that, and I was raising capital for that. The other big piece is after it aired on national television, I didn't get an offer from them, but two other investors saw me on national television and made an offer to invest in my company. So sometimes just because what you have is not right for the person that you're in front of today doesn't mean that it's not right. It could be right for somebody else that you have not yet met yet.
Well, and that is so evidenced by, for example, people on American Idol or The Voice. The winners don't necessarily get to where some of the runners up do. Look at Jennifer Hudson. She's a bigger star today than some of the people who actually won Idol. So, and she did not win. So that's
Yes.
a marvelous, it's a great suggestion. So, folks, you heard it here. She went from like $9 an hour to $9 million in sales. She developed her own cosmetic company. She had offers from investors. She's now coaching people who are speakers, authors, trainers, entrepreneurs. Go to her website, aprilyvette.com. Take advantage of her coaching session. I know you'll be absolutely glad that you did. And, I want to thank you so much for being with us today, April. I think it's important for the women out there to listen and know if they are a single parent that it's not over, it's not useless, it's not, you just have to keep going and you have to really have a plan for yourself. And once you start on that plan, other people show up who will help you and help you get to where you need to go. But you yourself have to continue to invest in yourself, both financially and emotionally and mentally. So that means reading books, going to conferences, seminars, workshops, and getting a mentor. So thank you so much, April. We're delighted in having you today.
Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Gayle. It's been a pleasure talking with you. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening to Women in Business. I hope you enjoyed today's show. And if you have any suggestions as to who you'd like me to have as a guest, just email me at gaylecarson13@gmail.com. Be sure to check out www.sob6tips.com. And in the meantime, go to www.spunkyoldbroad.com to see the resources I have for you.